My name's Emily Moore, and I used to believe hard work was enough to earn your place at the table. I'm 38, born and raised in a scrappy Chicago suburb where my mom, a nurse, worked double shifts to keep the lights on. I clawed my way through college, waitressing nights, dreaming of a life where I wouldn't have to check the bank account before buying groceries. For 15 years, I poured my soul into Horizon Dynamics, a Chicago marketing firm that promised partnership and rewards for results. I was their senior account director, the one who stayed up until 3 a.m. to save accounts while executives like Victor Langston planned their next golf retreat. But the day I walked into Victor's office with a $10.2 million client renewal, I learned how little my loyalty meant. IT was a Tuesday, the kind of gray Chicago morning that makes you question every life choice. I'd spent 3 nights straight prepping folders for the Nexus Tech renewal, a tech client I'd nurtured through late-night calls and crisis rollouts. My hands shook as I slid the contract summary across Victor's mahogany desk. Nexus Tech signed the 5-year renewal, I said, forcing a steady voice. Full package, $10.2 million. I negotiated a 7% increase without spooking their board. We're 23% over Q3 projections. Victor, 45 and smug as a Lincoln Park yuppie, didn't even look up from his phone. He was 50 minutes late, chewing a mint like he was bored of oxygen. No handshake, no greeting, just a slouch in his leather chair like it was his throne. That's expected, he said, tossing the summary back like it was junk mail. You're a senior director, not a miracle worker. My throat burned. There was an agreement, I said, voice low. A performance bonus for securing the largest renewal in company history. It's in writing. I'd planned to use that money for my mom's medical bills, to finally give her a break after years of sacrifice. Victor's eyes flicked up, cold as Lake Michigan in January. The results belong to Horizon, Emily. Not you. The words landed like a slap, clean and final. No maybe, no next quarter. Just a dismissal of 18 months of red-eye flights to Denver, of calming Nexus Tech's frantic CTO, of holding the account together while turnover gutted our team. My ears rang, not with anger, but with a hollow clarity. I smiled, not with warmth, but with something else more, something forged in the quiet of betrayal. Understood, I said, one word, precise as a blade. I gathered my folders, each page heavy with my worth, and walked out of that glass office where dreams went to die. Victor didn't follow. He thought he'd won. He had no idea I'd just lit a fuse. Back in my Lakeview apartment, the city's hum felt like a pulse I couldn't match. I sat on my couch, still in my work blazer, staring at the skyline through a window smudged with winter's grit. Victor's words, the results belong to Horizon, looped in my head like a bad song. I'd given them 15 years, my mom's hopes pinned to every late-night email, every client saved. For what? A bonus dangled like a carrot, then yanked away. I wasn't just angry. I was awake. The kind of awake that makes you see every crack in the life you've built that I didn't cry. Tears are for people who believe in second chances. Instead, I opened my laptop and typed 2 words, exit strategy. No logo, no flourish, just a blank document and a pot of black coffee. I knew the non-compete clause in my contract like the back of my hand. It was a steel trap. No working with Horizon's clients or competitors for 24 months, no soliciting, no competing services, or I'd face arbitration and ruin. Victor probably thought it was his checkmate, printed in bold on his ego. But he forgot something. Loyalty dies fast when you treat people like furniture. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I wasn't going to storm out with a speech or beg HR for fairness. I needed a plan, cold and sharp, like the Chicago wind cutting through my coat. I'd spent years building trust with Nexus Tech, memorizing their quirks. Layla Torres hated buzzwords. Their CFO needed sustainability footnotes. That wasn't in any handbook. It was in me. Victor didn't know their names, let alone their coffee orders. That was my edge. I typed a single sentence. Effective immediately, I resign. No poetry, no bridges left unburned. I hit send at 11:47 p.m., the email flying to Victor's inbox like a dart. His assistant replied at 2:47 p.m. the next day, attaching the non-compete with a smug note. We trust you'll honor your obligations. Corporate speak for we own you. I stared at the screen, my reflection ghost-like in the dim light. My mom's voice echoed from childhood. You don't need their permission to be enough. I deleted the email, closed my laptop, and whispered, watch me. The plan wasn't revenge, not yet. It was survival, laced with something darker. I'd build something new, something mine, and I'd do it without breaking their rules. But I'd make sure they felt every step I took. Chicago's skyline glittered outside, indifferent but alive, like it knew I was rewriting my story. I wasn't just leaving Horizon. I was declaring war, quiet as a shadow, sharp as the edge of a knife. The next morning, I walked into Horizon Dynamics' Loop office like I hadn't just burned my career to the ground. Chicago's skyscrapers loomed outside the glass walls, reflecting a version of me I barely recognized, heels clicking, smile pinned on like a name tag. Inside, the air was thick with whispers. My colleagues' keyboards clacked louder as I passed, filling the silence like nervous applause. Lena, our project manager, gave me a quick nod, her eyes darting away like I was a ghost. Marcy from legal shot me a look you'd give someone headed to their own funeral. I carried a sealed envelope, my transition file for Nexus Tech. It was perfect, timelines, budgets, contact lists, everything a new team needed to pick up where I left off. But it was also a trap. I'd left out the intangibles, Layla Torres' hatred of jargon, the CFO's obsession with green initiatives, the VP's ego about acronyms. Those weren't documents. They were years of trust I'd built, late nights on calls, coffee runs during client crises. Victor didn't know their faces, let alone their quirks. Good luck running Nexus Tech into the ground without me. Victor strutted out of his corner office at noon, his tie screaming money, his smirk screaming control. Emily, he said, voice slick as an oil spill, I want to acknowledge your service. You've been a reliable asset. But Nexus Tech is ours, and we'll enforce the non-compete. He thought he'd caged me, that I'd slink away, tail between my legs. I met his stare, my eyes a mirror to his arrogance. Of course, I said, voice smooth as Lake Michigan surface before a storm. You should. He blinked, expecting a fight, but I gave him nothing. I packed my desk. Every pen, every post-it where I'd scribbled dreams of partnership. My nameplate, still warm from years of trying, stayed behind like a shed skin. I took one last lap around the office, no goodbyes, just eye contact that cut like glass. Let them wonder if I was broken or unbreakable. Back in my car, the Chicago skyline blurred through tears I wouldn't let fall. I'd given Horizon my 30s, my sleep, my belief in fairness. My mom used to say, don't let them steal your spark. I gripped the steering wheel, feeling the weight of her words and the fire in my chest. Victor thought silence was surrender. He didn't know it was the sound of a woman rewriting her worth, step by deliberate step, in a city that never sleeps on dreamers like me. Chicago's winter hit like a personal grudge, the kind that makes you question why you ever left your couch. 3 days into unemployment, my Lakeview apartment felt like a tomb. The silence was heavy. No Slack pings, number 3 a.m. emails, just my cat, Mocha, giving me side-eye like she knew I'd torched my career. I sat at my dining table in the same hoodie, day after day, staring at a laptop cursor blinking like it was mocking me. My savings were solid, but not forever. Rent, utilities, groceries, my mom's medical bills, they loomed like storm clouds. I'd promised her a safety net, the kind she never had. Now, I was free-falling. I opened a browser, searching, start an LLC Chicago. $100 and 3 forms later, More Solutions was born. The name had bite, like the wind off Lake Michigan, and a nod to my mom's maiden name. But a name wasn't a business. I needed a website, a logo, an offer. I wrestled with a Squarespace template that looked like it belonged to a life coach selling kombucha. It loaded, though, with a contact form and a tagline, Precision Fixes for Corporate Chaos. It wasn't pretty, but it was mine. Spreadsheets became my therapy. I color-coded my finances, rent in red, groceries in blue, insurance in a gray that matched my mood. The numbers bled together, a reminder that freedom came with a price. I'd lie awake at night, picturing my mom's tired hands counting tips to pay our rent when I was a kid. She'd raised me to fight, not fold. But doubt crept in like damp cold through my apartment's old windows. What if I'd miscalculated? What if Victor's non-compete buried me? LinkedIn was a gut punch. Victor's face grinned from Horizon's Culture Spotlight post, middle managers clapping like trained seals in the comments. I closed the app, my stomach twisting. Halfway through a bowl of instant ramen, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. They reassigned your Nexus Tech budget to an exec retreat. Good luck. No name, but I knew Lena's dry wit. Horizon had taken my six-figure onboarding plan, months of forecasts, contingencies, and flushed it for pina coladas and synergy buzzwords. I laughed, a sharp, unhinged sound that sent Mocha under the couch. That text wasn't just gossip. It was proof. Horizon wasn't evil, just incompetent, the kind of stupid that trips over its own ego and blames the floor. They'd fumble Nexus Tech, I knew it. Layla Torres' sighs during our old calls told me she valued results, not PowerPoint decks. If they failed her, she'd look for a lifeline. And I'd be ready. Not soliciting, not breaking the non-compete, just waiting like a lighthouse in a storm I knew was coming. I sipped my coffee, cold now, and felt my mom's voice in my bones. You're enough, Emily. Build it. So I did, one keystroke at a time. In a city that rewards the stubborn 2 weeks into unemployment, my apartment smelled like coffee and desperation. Chicago's gray skies pressed against my windows, mirroring the fog in my head. I was tweaking More Solutions' website, swapping consulting for strategic recovery to dodge the non-compete, when my phone buzzed. Layla Torres' name lit up the screen, and my heart did a flip like it forgot how to beat. Layla, Nexus Tech's ops lead, was the only client who'd ever sent me a thank you note after a 2 a.m. crisis call. I'd built her trust over years, but this call felt like a tightrope. Hey, Emily, it's Layla, she said, her voice tight, like she hadn't slept. Just checking in. How's life post-Horizon? I gripped my cold coffee, forcing a casual tone. Layla, wow, it's good to hear you. Life's quiet. Depends on the day. She sighed, heavy, like she was unloading a brick. We danced through small talk, her kids, her kitchen Reno disaster, but it felt like scaffolding. Then she cut to it. Your replacement team, she said, words careful, is interesting. They sent a deck with our product roadmap upside down. Literally. Said it was aspirational. I choked on a laugh, covering it with a cough. That's bold, I said, neutral as a Switzerland flag. She kept going, her voice circling frustration. Missed deadlines, duplicated tasks, emails that read like they were written by a bot. Their VP called me Rebecca twice on Zoom. My name's on the screen. I made a low hum, the kind you offer when you're listening but not fixing, not yet. That's rough, I said, feeling the weight of her pause. We trusted you, Emily, she said, and the words landed like a stone in still water. Your work had rhythm. Now it's chaos. My pulse hammered. This was the crack I'd been waiting for, but I had to play it clean. I'm sorry it's been messy, I said. I've been exploring some independent work, small niche stuff. Strategic sprints, not full service. Totally different from Horizon's model. I added a shrug to my voice, like I hadn't spent nights scripting this. Layla didn't bite right away. She was too sharp, raised in Chicago's South Side, navigating corporate games with the same grit I'd learned in my suburb. What kind of niche? She asked, a spark in her tone. Project recovery, I said. Aligning stakeholders, fixing early phase drift. Not competing with full-stack vendors. I could feel her wheels turning. Let me know if you ever unniche, she said, her goodbye warmer than it needed to be. I hung up, my heart pounding like a CTA train. Layla wasn't just venting. She was reaching out, a hairline fracture in Nexus Tech's trust in Horizon. I stared at my laptop, the cursor blinking like a heartbeat. My mom's words echoed. Don't wait for their permission. I wasn't. I was building a bridge, one careful word at a time, in a city where trust is currency, and I was ready to cash in. The call from Layla lit a spark, but I wasn't naive enough to think I could just dive in. Horizon's non-compete was a bear trap, and Victor Langston would love nothing more than to see me bleed out in arbitration. I needed armor, and I knew exactly who could forge it. Nora Kessler's office in the Loop was a study in quiet power, no flashy plaques, just black bookshelves and a bonsai tree trimmed to within an inch of its life. Nora, 50, was a former public defender turned corporate assassin, known for making Fortune 500 execs cry over sloppy NDAs. She was my kind of weapon. I slid the non-compete across her desk, my hand steady despite the knot in my stomach. "This is their leash," I said. Clause 17b. No soliciting clients, no competing services, 24 months. Nora didn't flinch, just flipped through the pages with the precision of a surgeon. Her silence stretched 5 minutes that felt like 5 years. Finally, she leaned back, tapping a finger like a metronome. "It's aggressive," she said. "Overreaching, but enforceable. No soliciting, no competing, no hiring their people." My stomach sank, but her eyes glinted like steel catching light. "There's a gap." I blinked. "A gap?" She turned to page 7, pointing to a footnote buried like a landmine. "It says you can't solicit or accept business from their clients for services they offer. It doesn't stop clients from approaching you for something Horizon doesn't provide." My breath caught. She grinned, sharp as a Chicago winter. "Redefine your work. Make it so niche they can't touch it. And document everything: emails, timestamps, proposals. They have to prove you solicited. If they can't, you're untouchable." Hope flickered, the first warmth I'd felt in weeks. "What if I focus on project recovery?" I said, testing the idea. "Stakeholder alignment, diagnostic sprints, not full-service account management." Nora's grin widened. "Horizon sells end-to-end campaigns. You're offering a scalpel. They can't claim that's competition. Just make sure Nexus Tech calls you first." I nodded, my mind racing. "They already did," I said, thinking of Layla's call. "Then you're golden," Nora said. "Build your fortress, but keep it clean." That night, I tore down More Solutions' website and rebuilt it from scratch. No trace of Horizon's buzzwords, no hint of full-service work. The new tagline read, "More Solutions, surgical recovery for enterprise chaos." 3 pages. What we do, what we don't. Contact us if you must. Each word a legal shield. Each phrase a beacon for clients like Layla. I wasn't just starting a business. I was crafting a lighthouse in a storm I knew Horizon couldn't weather. My mom's voice rang in my ears. "Build what they can't break." I sipped my coffee, the Chicago skyline glittering outside, and felt the ground shift beneath me. The trap was set, and I was ready for Victor to step right into it. A month later, Layla called again, her voice sharp as a Chicago wind. No pleasantries. "Is now a bad time?" she asked. I sat up, still in pajama bottoms under a blouse I'd thrown on for a fake Zoom call with myself. My laptop was open to a spreadsheet tracking my dwindling savings, red cells glaring like warning signs. "No," I said, voice tight. "What's going on?" "They broke it," Layla said, her words like glass cracking. "The data integration for our Q3 launch, North Star. It's dead. They overwrote our test environment with another client sandbox, then tried to roll it back without a checkpoint. Corrupted everything. Didn't notice for 48 hours. My blood ran cold. North Star was Nexus Tech's flagship, a multi-market beast I'd helped plan for 2 years. A miss would tank their earnings, headlines screaming failure. They sent a half-assed apology and a new timeline pushing us to October, Layla continued. Our board's livid. "We're reviewing the contract for breach." I stayed silent, letting her words fill the space. This was it, the crack I'd waited for, wide enough to drive a truck through. "If you can provide these services," Layla said, each word deliberate, "we'd like to discuss." My heart slammed against my ribs, but I kept my voice steady as a tightrope walker. "Layla, More Solutions is narrow. We do project recovery diagnostics alignment sprints. not full-service replacement. She cut in, fierce. I'm not asking for replacement. I need a fix. Planning, stakeholder recon, system rebuild. We'll handle ops. Just get us to the board meeting next Friday. I exhaled, slow, like defusing a bomb. I'll draft a proposal, I said. Strategic sprint, 6 deliverables in scope. You'll have it tonight. She agreed, her voice clipped but warm, like she was grasping a lifeline. I hung up, ran to my kitchen, and threw up in the sink, not from fear, but from the weight of the moment. The spotlight was on, and I couldn't flinch. By midnight, I sent a 3-page proposal titled More Solutions. North Star Recovery Sprint. No fluff, just surgical steps to save their launch. At 7:19 a.m., my phone rang. Lena's voice hissed through. Emily, they're losing it. Nexus Tech served a 30-day termination notice. For breaches. Sterling screaming your name in an all-hands, saying you sabotaged the transition to poach them. I gripped my counter, cereal bowl forgotten. He said what? That your transition doc was a setup, Lena said. Legal's drafting a cease and desist. I smiled, cold and sharp. My emails, timestamps, and Nora's copies were airtight. I hadn't solicited. Nexus Tech came to me. Let him scream. I told Lena. I called Nora, who laughed when I relayed the news. Their counsel CC'd me their draft, she said. Amateurs. Your paper trail's spotless. Let them drown. By 9:04 a.m., Nexus Tech's $10 million contract landed in my inbox, signed. It wasn't just money. It was proof I'd been right all along. Victor could rage, but I'd already won. Horizon Dynamics unraveled faster than a cheap sweater. Nexus Tech's termination letter hit like a Chicago snowstorm, public and brutal, citing 4 breaches that left Victor Langston's team scrambling. By noon, my inbox pinged with Nora's response to their cease and desist, a crisp 84 words citing my compliance with a non-compete, Nexus Tech's complaints starting 11 days after my exit, and a warning about legal fees if they pushed further. Victor's silence was deafening, the kind that follows a checkmate. He'd walked into his own trap, tapped shoes and all. I sat on my Wicker Park porch that evening, a glass of red wine catching the late summer glow. Chicago's skyline sparkled in the distance, a reminder of the city that shaped me, grit, hustle, and no patience for quitters. My mom's words echoed. You're enough, Emily. For years, I'd poured my worth into Horizon, believing their promises of partnership, of a bonus that would ease her medical bills. Victor thought I was a cog, replaceable. But I'd built an engine, more solutions, and Nexus Tech's $10 million contract was my signature on a canvas nobody thought I could paint. The contract wasn't just money. It was validation, hard-won and undeniable. Every late-night call with Layla, every crisis I'd defused, every trust I'd earned, it was mine, not Horizon's. I opened the PDF again, my initials in the corner, Layla's signature bold beside them. I smiled, sharp and private, the kind you save for a fire you lit from a safe distance. Victor could scream sabotage, but he'd lost Nexus Tech the moment he treated them like a line item, me like a number. His mediocrity was his undoing, and I was the tide he couldn't outrun. LinkedIn buzzed with likes. 917 on my post announcing more solutions, new partnership focused on precision and trust. 2 job offers followed, but I didn't need them. I'd built my lighthouse, and the storm had passed. Horizon's collapse wasn't my goal, but it was poetic. They'd learn, or they wouldn't. I was already moving forward, one deliberate step at a time, in a city that rewards those who don't break. To everyone who's followed this journey, thank you. You've walked with me through betrayal, doubt, and a fight I didn't know I had in me. If my story hit you where it hurts, smash that subscribe button and join us. Every contract, every late-night hustle, every moment of proving them wrong, it's a story of grit, heart, and starting over. Keep building your own truth, and I'll meet you at the finish line, right here in Chicago's unyielding light.